Oh, hey, Alice. Thanks for coming by on such a good night. I have the great and powerful Abbie Grafton here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. I'm so glad we actually have time to talk.
Me too. Oh my
Um,
gosh. You're so fascinating, and I'm glad we got introduced.
I feel exactly the same way. The
Thanks,
first
Chris.
the first time we talked, I was like, oh, I really want to talk to her on the show. So
Well, if you recall, the first time that we met, I knew your podcast before you told it to me.
that's right. That's always really weird to me. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Transparency, I love podcasts. I struggle to listen to them because of ADHD. So unless I'm driving, I'm doomed. So I've listened to like bits, but enough that I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then I put two and two together because Chris was like, oh, my friend Alex has a podcast. And then I met you, and then you said something about rhetoric, and I was like, hold the phone. Drunk at a Halloween party or some party.
Yeah. Do you want to tell Alice a little bit about what your background
Sure.
and what you're bringing to the table here?
So hi Alice. I think what I bring to the table is eclectic knowledge. Would you say that? Well, you have something in your mouth, but I think you would agree that's fair. Yeah. So background wise, I have a master's degree in rhetoric, and I use that to teach research writing and rhetoric for a hot minute. But the sad thing is, teachers get paid miserably, and so my dreams are shattered.
So I work. Thankless job.
Is my kids were great. Let me clarify wherever that microphone is. My kids were great. It's the rest of it that wasn't. And so when I left teaching, I kind of switched gears completely and worked with babies. So I had babysat and nannied while I was in college. That's kind of like my college gig. I go over and help the mom after school kind of thing. And when I found myself looking for a job in Nashville, I was like, is that even a thing here? Mm-hmm. And most of my experience had been with like infants and toddlers. And so one thing led to another, led to another. I worked in the infant room in a daycare for a minute. And that was my intro to nanny world. And so through the course of my 4 years as a nanny in Nashville, like I said, mostly worked with infants, but I also, and this is the cool part, completed postpartum doula training. There are multiple kinds of doulas. We can talk about that in a minute. But for me, the goal was, how do I take care of mom and baby, and what's the best newborn knowledge I can have? And I honestly thought that's what I would do like forever. But I also recognize that I'm the kind of person who has lots of passions and no apologies about following them. So now we're entering a new artistic era of life. That doesn't mean there's no more babies ever, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Did I cover all the bases?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
The first time we talked was about, you told me you were a doula and how rhetoric ties into that. And I remember, this is, I'm not going to do it justice the way you would, but what I remember about that is you telling me how a pregnant woman is perceived, and how like rhetoric plays into that. Like a pregnant woman is a pregnant
reduced
woman.
To her pregnancy.
Yeah, reduced to her pregnancy. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And
actually, if you want to talk more about that, that'd be great.
don't tell me twice.
No, I think this is important stuff. I'd love to.
Yeah. I apologize that I'm kind of like too enthusiastic and informal.
We're all mad here.
Right. Let me just join the party and put on my hat. So I think in terms of, for me, the way that I synthesized my rhetoric background with my baby background, for lack of a better way to phrase that, is that so much of the ways that we, like you said, talk about pregnant women are rhetorically reductive. We reduce them to the fact that they are a host of a parasite.
Instead of being more things.
Exactly. And it's things. True when the baby is born too. Like once you're a mom, okay. You're a mom.
Gotcha.
Like you might have a role at work. You might have a role at church. I
never in my life thought about any of this, but as soon as you said it, I'm like, no, yeah, that's true.
Like if I have a friend who's a mom, my first thought is, oh, that's my friend who's a mom. I do it too. We all do it. Because like culturally, that's like ingrained in us, And the flip side of that, I have big opinions on the way people talk about babies and children. And and namely on the subject of autonomy. I think that children are tiny human people, and as human
That's
people,
hard to argue with. Yeah.
as human people, they should have autonomy. They should have the ability to make choices about their actions and their bodies, and they should have the freedom to have thought and decision making modeled for them. Not shoved at them, modeled for them. How to think logically, how to problem solve, how to critically think. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about 3 years old and under.
Okay.
As an
I would love.
example,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as an example, like early literacy, which is something we're all about here in High House. I think that that is a big role in teaching children decision making. And I'm going to use an example if that's okay. Letting the baby pick out the book. The baby doesn't want Winnie the Pooh. The baby wants Brown Bear, Brown Bear. You gave them that decision. They had a reason. It could just be because the bear is fuzzy, but they had a reason.
Yeah.
And if that baby is 6 months old making a decision, look how much you just empowered her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So little things like that. I mean, I could go on and on, but you had a question, so
I would. No, I'm interested to explore where the boundaries of that are, because
like for safety of children.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Like for example, there's certain things that like parents should make decisions about, right?
Correct.
So I'm
Like,
curious.
Where's the line?
Yeah, where's your like professional opinion about where the line is on that?
I think that children should make what I'm going to call age appropriate decisions. But I also think that if a child is old enough to be verbal, that including them in the family plan or the family dialogue and the family like tasks and functions is very important. That's a big principle of Montessori education. And so if a child is old enough, let them be a part of those big decisions. Like, hey, we're moving. How do you feel about this? Like, let them know the child, their voice is heard. Let them know it will not always be catered to, but that it is heard and that it is respected. That's, I think, the core of all of this, that whether it's a child that's that age or a child that's younger, is giving the child respect because they are a person. People write off children as like, oh, they're just kids. Oh, they're just kids. They're humans growing, learning, hearts beating, brains bursting. Like they're people. They just short. And so I think to treat them with respect and to validate their ideas and to let the decisions be contained as guided redirection, basically, in terms of like the disciplinary counterpoint. So because the child is making completely bananas decisions, as the caregiver, is your job to not only just say, no, don't do that, because what good does that do anybody? It's like, hey, buddy, we're not going to go backwards down the slide right now because we could fall and we could hit our head, and that's dangerous.
Okay.
And you might have to pause and explain, Miss Abbie, what does dangerous mean? But if you explain, and then the child then can make an informed choice. And if they bonk their head sliding down off the slide, which did happen once with one of my nanny kids, he was 3. And when I turned around to grab his ball and down he went and conked his head. And he looked at me, he's like, you told me. Like, yeah, buddy, I know I did. But I mean, kids, we talk about this with teenagers that they're gonna make silly decisions all the time. So are little kids. And really it's just a whoa.
That's too much life. But anyway, go ahead.
No, you're good. Was just gonna say that I think it's a combination of respecting them as people, giving them space to learn and mess up, but guided redirection on the whole to keep it from becoming unhinged. Does that make sense?
Yeah, is this light offensive?
No.
Okay. Yes, that does make sense. Again, I find all this very interesting because as soon as you say it, it makes sense, but I never thought of it before.
Have you been around a lot of babies?
No, I have a little bit of experience. Like when I was 16, there was a woman in our church that had an aneurysm and was actually like suffered a lot of brain damage from that. And she had a newborn baby. It was actually, even though he was like maybe a week or 2 old, they considered it a complication of the pregnancy. There's more to it than that. She was
postpartum, 4th trimester.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. She was exercising really hard, and there was pressure. I don't have any problems talking about it because I think someone
So
should
you
say
didn't
it.
name this person.
But
So.
yeah, but he was pressuring the father was pressuring her to lose weight right after. That's my understanding of the situation. Not a fan of his.
Yeah, no shit.
But it's thought that because she was exercising really hard shortly after the pregnancy, that's what caused it. So she lived like another like 10 years after that.
Oh wow. Okay.
But like,
but in
invalid.
a diminished capacity. Gotcha.
Yeah. What's the rhetoric for that? That's not offensive. What did you say just now?
Oh, I said diminished capacity.
That would be the answer. Diminished capacity. Yeah. And that was, I think, really hard.
It's almost even harder.
It's harder. It's harder.
Jesus.
I think that was really scarring, maybe even more scarring than losing your mom, because she had several children. This was the youngest. And the oldest is one of my greatest, like one of my best friends, grew up with him.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway, long story short, my mom raised this baby for the first like 4 years because of what she was going through, and there was not really anyone else to do it.
Yeah.
So I when I was
So you were
16, I
really
had a
big.
little brother. Yeah. So I know I have some experience with it, but not a ton.
Well, and to like everybody's experience with babies is different. Like the level to which you get to interact with the child, the level to which you're responsible for the child,
Yeah.
like do you get to have fun and take care of? Is it one? Is it the other? I'm glad you have a camera on because I do talk with my hands a lot, and that doesn't really pick up on a mic. So sorry, Alice, my hands are moving a lot.
So can I ask you a personal question?
Absolutely.
About that? Are you thinking about kids?
I do not want children.
Okay.
I'm happily and actively child-free, and I have chosen that for a few reasons. If you would like me to discuss them, okay.
As much as you're willing to, yeah.
I'm an open book. Okay, so point number one, I got paid to take care of other people's babies. Nobody's gonna pay me to take care of mine.
Sure.
I'm being funny, I swear.
True though.
True, but I'm being funny. Number two, I know that for health reasons, my body might not respond to pregnancy well. And number three, this one's controversial, so I will just preface it with that. It is not a judgment call on all humans with mental illness. It is a judgment call on me as a person with mental illness, that I will not pass that along to a biological child.
Oh, I gotcha.
And that's not to say that if someone with bipolar disorder has a baby, that they're a bad person or a bad mom or whatever. I don't think that's true. I think for me, knowing how difficult some of the experiences I've had have been for solely that reason, that I can't in good conscience risk passing that to someone else when there's such a genetic predisposition.
Do your parents have?
My bio mom did.
Okay. Gotcha. I think that's it's very responsible.
Cute. Someone once told me I was practicing eugenics, so.
Wow, fuck them.
Right?
Wow,
I'm like, this is my body.
What a dumb take. That's so stupid.
I guess it would be if I were like, no mentally ill people have babies, but
sure.
But like, that's so not the thing.
Actually, eugenics bad, but every argument is like the most basic shit you've ever heard. That is like, there's a lot of truth in it. Like for example, I have really bad eyesight. Like I wouldn't be able to hunt 400 years ago, and it is genetic. Like my parents have bad eyesight. So I mean, like there's those arguments, is that we're becoming more blind, and like, so I don't know, there's like a consciousness to it, but any solution to that is a bad one. That's where you start getting into like really bad problems.
Yeah, it's like how do you
realistically, there's not a lot you can do about it, I think. I recently, we did the Unabomber manifesto for the book club.
I remember seeing that on social media that you guys did that.
That was interesting. I think going into it, I wanted to like Ted Kaczynski more than I ended up doing.
He was an asshole.
Yeah, he's like, a lot of what he said is true, and then like in his book, but then if you look at his life at all, it's like I can't justify any of this.
No. I mean, it's like you've got Machiavelli up there. Like it's a very similar concept where it's like, fuck you, dude, but I'm gonna take this little piece.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I mean, even Taylor Swift. The line is, "I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian because I care."
I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian.
Because I care.
Can you dissect that?
Sure. So this track is called Mastermind. It is on the album Midnight.
Yo, what the fuck? I didn't know Taylor was like deep like that. Holy shit.
Dude, I could give you unfurl scroll list of literary everything in the entire discography.
So she's doing a lot of magic, huh?
I had a coworker tell me she would like her if she wasn't so satanic.
Interesting. I had no idea about any of this. That actually makes a lot of sense when you look at like she's doing a lot of really big stuff.
She is. And Mastermind was basically about a like, you know what? Nobody played with me when I was little, so I'm gonna learn to make people love me.
Oh fuck. Okay. So Taylor's deep. I have no idea. I have like a very surface level understanding of Taylor Swift. And I haven't heard the new album, even though everyone has told me it's fucking fire.
So the newest album will be actually this month, no, April.
Oh,
there's another one. Yeah. There's another one. Damn. This one's called The Tortured Poets Department.
Jesus fuck. Holy shit. Okay, yeah. All right. So
question for you.
Uh-huh.
Would you let me use Spotify?
I don't have a Spotify account. Okay. So I mostly use YouTube.
If I gave you a playlist of Taylor Swift songs that I handpicked for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll try to keep it to like 13.
Okay. That's a funny choice of number.
It's her favorite number. It's my favorite number. It's also
I'm 13. Ready to join the cult. I'm gonna be a Swiftie.
Yes. But really though, this has successfully worked for like 3 different people now where they're like, I don't know about Taylor Swift. I'm like, I promise. Send me a few songs you like and I will make you a playlist and you will love it. For you, I'm kind of going the opposite route. I'm going the intellectual route instead of the sonic route, but I don't know sonically what you like to listen to. But
I listen to, this is like the most basic bitch answer, but I listen to a little bit of everything.
Same girl, same. But...
Yeah. But like I really like, I guess my favorite things are like prog rock. I love talent. I'm a big.
Give me a band.
Animals as Leaders, Polyphia.
They sound like
so yeah, stuff like it's its own genre called math rock. But basically, I like complicated stuff like jazz and rock.
Okay, so
I love jazz. Miles Davis, like.
You and Grant would seriously go so great.
I would love to have Grant on.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, I like complicated things that are not easy to do. I love watching really talented people, like masters of their craft.
Okay.
I love it. I love seeing like the peak of human ability, like stretching the limits. I'm really big into chaos magic too, which is like.
Oh, chaos magic is so fun. I lived with a chaos witch once. It was an interesting
chaos
time.
Is a lot of rhetoric. It's a lot of
she leaned into the chaos on purpose because that's who she was as a person.
So Taylor Swift.
But yes, I will, based on your intellectual interests, I will make you a 13 song listen. You can go look them up on YouTube or whatever, or Apple Music, whatever you use.
What about this line? The I'm cryptic and Machiavellian because I
care.
Yeah.
So yeah, the song Mastermind is basically the story of her like orchestrating events, lining up the dominoes.
She's fucking playing 5D chess. Okay.
She's playing chess.
And she's telling everybody.
And she's like
she has a very poppy sound, so you might not, unless you're looking into
lyrics, you knew, yeah.
You wouldn't. Man, there's something about that too.
Where and it's such a pop banger. Like you would never, if you did okay. So I'm in an online Facebook group called I'm High and I Love Taylor Swift. And in there, people were talking about words that T Swift just taught them, and Machiavellian kept coming up over and over and over.
That's so funny. She is making moves. Like she took over the NFL.
So I'm a big football fan. Fun fact.
I actually
I'm a
know
big
nothing
Chiefs
about it.
Fan.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
So when I found out, Alex, so help me God.
That's hilarious.
I even have a number 13 loves number 87 Kansas Chiefs color friendship bracelet.
Aw.
And I have a t-shirt that has the NFL logo. This is Taylor's version.
Nice.
Not t-shirts much. So, anyway, sorry, we sidetracked real hard.
I think it's interesting that she like it's a very approachable song. And when you do something about, I guess what I'm really trying to say here is there's a hypnotic quality to that.
Somebody asked me once, why are people so obsessed with her?
Yeah,
And
that's I'm very interested to listen to this. I didn't know about that.
and they meant, and like not in a derogatory way, but in a like there are people who are obsessed with her. Why? Me over here in my Taylor shirt with my 2 Taylor tattoos.
It's brilliant.
Thank you.
I mean, I didn't know.
Oh.
That's fascinating to learn about her. Because I've just never, I guess I really never paid attention.
It's well, because so much of like
Turn down this fan a little bit to break that.
So much of Taylor. See what I did there?
Taylor.
Taylor lore, yeah. Comes from the hits that everybody knows. Everybody knows Shake It Off. Everybody knows Blank Space. Everybody knows Teardrops on My Guitar and Our Song. You know, Bad Blood. Like those are the radio hits. I Knew You Were Trouble. The Screaming Goat. Everyone knows that song. But on that same album with I Knew You Were Trouble, the re-released version in November of 2021, there is a 10-minute masterpiece of a song. It is a 10-minute song. And it was my #1 most played song on Spotify for the entire year. I calculated I spent like 3 weeks listening to that song, if I did the math right. All that to say, there's storytelling.
What a real experimental artist. I just wasn't aware that's what was going on with her.
So every album she has is a different genre almost. Some are like in that like country to country pop, like 3-album spectrum. But especially like 1999 was a huge pop hit, like bubblegum pop, like New York City disco balls pop. And then you turn around and have Reputation, which is like, I'm a fucking cut you because you ruined my life, you fucking prick. And then after that came secret indie surprise album drops, sad girl shit like Phoebe Bridgers. That's where a lot of people fell in love with her who never were before.
It has like the like subliminal magic stuff. Has that been throughout her whole career? Or is that like a more recent thing?
So it depends on who you ask. In terms of in terms of her being like, I remember when I was in middle school having friends who weren't allowed to listen to Taylor Swift, and kind of like in that we weren't allowed to read Harry Potter way, because it like there's the same kids who weren't allowed to listen to Avril Lavigne too. But then it's kind of like when Fearless came out in 2009, there was this like shift of like she's the wholesome all-American girl. And so that was the magic. She was a 19-year-old girl. She won Album of the Year at the Grammys, youngest winner ever. On top of like her cute little country pop world, with legions of young female fans, not just female, but largely. But I mean, people even then were critical of like, they're just like parents who get bent out of shape and their kids are too obsessed with something. Like I heard lots of stories of that happening with early years Taylor Swift. And then I think subliminal magic, one, we have wordplay like that's captivating, and for people who have listened to full albums, not just pop hits, that's kind of where I was going with that earlier. People who have listened to full albums and like catch these references, that it's not only growing our vocabulary, increasing our rhetorical abilities, but it is also like you said earlier, when you engage with a book, it becomes a soul thing. And for a lot of folks, that's what this music does. And so, and two, she is right now in the middle of a very poetic wraparound narrative.
Go on.
Are you familiar with the re-recording issues?
No.
Okay. Quick version. Taylor's manager sold her masters to some douchebag. He did not give Taylor the chance to buy them for her first 6 albums.
Okay.
So she said, fuck you, I'll re-record them and put Taylor's version. And so
gotcha.
That's what all the Taylor's version stuff is. It's because she re-recorded her first 6 albums.
What a fucking boss. That is
what
badass.
a fucking boss. Yes.
That is fucking badass.
And
like, fuck you, I'll just do it again better.
Yep. So we have her first album, self-titled, Taylor Swift was the name of her first album, recorded when she was 15 years old. And then we're coming all the way around the circle. All the re-records are getting spliced in with like new albums. She's spacing them out. And the very last one is expected to be Taylor Swift, Taylor's version. She'll own her own name. What kind of rhetoric bullshit is that? I got like goosebumps.
She owns her name. You like go into yourself. That's man. It's kind of sad that she has to like that. That's not the case. You know. I guess that's really often not the case though.
Yeah, and so many younger artists have learned so much from. I know you guys talk about artists a lot on here, and this is my limited perspective, but people like Olivia Rodrigo come to mind, who are like, "Fuck you, I love my masters from the beginning." So it just had such an influence on younger artists. I think Billie Eilish was kind of in the same boat.
That's I just I think that's fascinating. I didn't know that Taylor Swift was like a fucking wizard. That's why I do want you to dissect that line from the song you said earlier, the Machiavellian one.
Yeah. So let me pull you in on that though. If you were to define the term Machiavellian, what would you say?
Fair question.
I'm asked because I want context on where you're coming from, so I make sure I explain myself well.
Ends justify the means.
Okay, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So she is admitting to the fact that she is borderline deceptively teeing things up to get what she wants, like you said, playing chess. The ends justify the means because she's going to, let's see, no one wanted to play with me as a little kid, so I've been scheming like a criminal ever since to make them love me and make it seem effortless.
Fuck. Damn. Shit.
And then it's in the
Taylor's
bridge.
Mad. Holy shit. Taylor's fucking pissed.
She has a song called Mad Woman, track 7, Folklore. Are you recognizing that I know too much?
I just think it's fascinating. Well, I didn't have you here specifically to talk about Taylor Swift.
No,
but that's
we derailed.
Fascinating. That's fucking.
I am happy to dial back and loop back, or we can just like roll with it.
This is like a lot, and it's just surprising to me that this is the first I've heard of it. How many people are aware of this?
Of Taylor Magic?
Yeah.
All of the Philippines. She's so big there. I'm dead serious. But like online, like Swiftie forum communities, there's even I'm in it, the Swiftie Coven, of like practitioners who believe that Taylor's
art is magic. Super fans know. How much of her audience do you think is aware of? Like a bunch of people that watch the NFL don't.
I still Dads, Brads, and Chads. Did you see that? Somebody was asking her about like, well, how do you feel that people are saying like you're ruining football? And she's like, I don't even know when the camera's on me, and these Dads, Brads, and Chads can get over it. I'm paraphrasing, but she did use that phrase.
That's fucking awesome.
It is. But I think it's like, especially, I'm so glad you brought up the NFL example, because this idea of just someone's mere presence is enough to disrupt a national sport.
So, next question for you.
Yes.
I think I said earlier, but I don't really know anything about football. So
okay.
If you could give me a crash course in, you're familiar with conspiracy theories when it comes to the NFL?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay. Well, they're.
I just like to watch football.
I only recently learned about this.
Okay.
Actually, after the Super Bowl, but apparently there's a lot of people that think there's like rigging going on with them.
It doesn't surprise me. I didn't know it explicitly, but it doesn't surprise me that people think that.
Which I just find interesting if they're collaborating more or less with Taylor, who is doing like is the NFL doing its own manipulation magic? Like,
are they writing her manipulation magic?
Okay, let me ask you about the Super Bowl itself then. That's like a really good game. I watched some of that.
That final touchdown, Chiefs, with 3 seconds on the clock. Sorry, I get really into football.
I guess what I'm saying is you couldn't script a better game.
No.
You know what I mean? So
does her magic transcend just her words?
Well, that and like is football rigged?
maybe. But goddamn, watching Mahomes and Kelsey just it's beautiful. It's art.
Yeah.
Football is art, geometric art, no less.
That's yeah. There's I like we were talking earlier about like I love talent. So when you're watching like a world level athlete, like dude, I don't watch a lot of football, but I watch a lot of fights.
Oh, okay. Like MMA fighting?
MMA
Yeah.
and boxing sometimes.
Okay.
I don't watch as much boxing because to me it's actually more brutal. Like they go for longer, so they suffer more long-term damage. But like I love watching like just someone who has honed themselves like so much. It's my favorite thing. Like I love musicians that are just insanely talented because that's like what they do. Like my friend Sydney Mays, like first time I interviewed him on here, which he's been on a bunch, but I was like, so what do you do for fun? He's like, man, I don't know what to tell you. I just play guitar. Like, and it's like this motherfucker plays guitar all the time. So there's a reason he's like like at the pinnacle of guitar, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like that's true of anyone who's insanely talented at something. It's like there can be a level of like innateness to that, but I would say like 95% of that is training. It's that they've worked so hard at something, which is part of why I like watching uh like someone really talented do something because I know there's a lot of work going into that. Like,
Do you like elaborate set design during concerts?
yeah, attention to detail. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't see a lot of that.
No.
But yeah, I one of the best shows I ever saw was the Muse. Not the Muse, Muse.
Use at Bonnaroo?
Yeah. No, I saw them at Sin Amphitheater
Oh, okay. They
with
played Bonnaroo in 2017.
okay. But did they do a light show?
I was asleep.
Oh damn. Well, when
In
I saw
Bonnaroo.
them, they had the most like brilliant light show I've ever seen with like
Fish had a
laser.
lot of lights.
Really?
hmm
They were doing like my favorite. I was on LSA at the time. I was tripping on blue. Okay, so blue morning glory seeds. Don't try this at home. Or Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds contain a compound called LSA, which is just very similar to LSD.
Oh, so
Do not,
CHCA.
yeah, do not buy blue morning glory seeds. Now I have to disclaimer this because you can buy these are seeds. You can buy them at like a hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot, but don't do that because they coat them with harmful pesticides. You have to get them locally sourced. And even then, I'm not recommending that you do this. But like you can trip really hard. So I was on LSA seeing Muse, and they did this thing with the lights where there was a giant head behind them, and its fingers each went to one of them, like and like their legs and their arms, and it's like, oh, that's the Muse, and I'm like my mind's blown. Anyway, yes, I love elaborate set design.
Cool.
I love like a performance, like that's so when it comes to musicians, you have songwriters, you have this is the quote my producer Neef, he explained this to me, but you have songwriters, you have instrumentalists, and you have performers. And once in like a blue moon, you'll get all three.
Right.
But there's plenty of people that are brilliant songwriters
Who
that are
know
not the most
musicians.
yeah, they're just not the most like technically proficient. Then you have instrumentalists, which are like the master of what they do.
Right.
And then you have a performer, which is like a rock star, like someone who can, it doesn't really, not all the time are the rock stars the most technically proficient or the best songwriters. Sometimes they're just really good at putting on a show, and having all three is really rare. I think everyone more is on a ratio is going to fall into one of those like categories of more a songwriter or more a performer.
What was the third one again?
Instrumentalist.
Instrumentalist.
Yeah.
So if one person were all three, do you think that would be magic?
I think it's all magic. I think
A manifestation of that magic for a person to have
sure.
all three.
Well, like the mastery of a craft is like a very spiritual thing.
Agreed.
Like this is like the martial arts, like ancient Eastern martial arts. They are doing something beyond, it's not about self-defense. It is a discipline of like spiritual nature. It's like that's why in Eastern like kung fu and tai chi and like all these martial arts, there's a lot of spiritualism mixed in with the way they teach it. And it gets kind of like named on, like
Yeah.
nowadays it's like you must move like water, like Karate Kid,
Yeah.
but
Or Kung
like
Fu Panda.
yeah, but like this is like a very serious like religious thing,
I mean, it's like yoga.
yeah. Yoga is a discipline that's like very spiritual. um so I guess to that would be like an instrumentalist. That's a very spiritual thing to master a craft as well.
Did you know I played trumpet?
No,
I'm
that's
did marching band for 8 years.
oh my
Through
God.
college.
Anything with brass in it gets like 10 points for me.
I haven't touched it since graduation, but
I've always said, and this is just me talking, but if I was going to learn an instrument, it'd be something brass.
it's fun.
Let's start taking trumpet lessons from you.
What part of I haven't played this since graduation did you not hear?
I missed that part.
But I
just heard trumpet and I stopped listening.
Dude, I told the first time I told Grant this, he looked at me and he was like, "Do you still have it?" And I was like, "Somewhere."
It exists.
And he was like, "Do you know how hot it would be if you were in a ska band?" And I just lost it completely.
Oh my God.
Like that's such an un-Grant thing to say.
In his defense, ska trumpet is the coolest, most badass thing ever.
It is, yes, actually.
I love ska.
I went to a Swemo night the other night and they turned one of her songs into a ska song. It was really cool.
Nice. That's cool.
Oh, Swift plus emo, Swemo.
Oh.
People who are fans of both.
Oh, Swift emo night. Where was that at?
The Vinyl Lounge.
I love Vinyl Lounge.
It was my first time there.
That's awesome. Were there a bunch of people there?
Yeah, actually,
it
was fucking nuts because it wasn't big enough because they didn't think anybody would come to something like that.
Was that when Chris played?
No.
Okay.
It was the same night though because I invited Chris. No, it was the same night at the thing at Highland.
Okay.
The show that Chris went to, I guess.
I knew he did
Highland
something recently.
Brewery. Yeah. Because Corinne and Stephen were there and it was the whole thing. And it was fun.
Shout out to Gerbil Chris. Do you know we call him this?
Gerbil?
Oh, you haven't heard this?
No, what's up?
So do me a favor. Next time you see him, say, "Hey, Gerbil Chris."
Okay.
Because he hates this.
Oh.
So I need your support.
You got it, dude.
Yeah, let's go. This is I'm
my
recruiting.
Friend,
I'm
comrade,
recruiting.
sibling in arms.
Yeah. And just know he deserves it. Every time he comes on the show, like without fail. Chris has been on like a bunch. The guest, he'll be like, "Did you know gerbils die after they have sex?" And they're like, "What? No way." He's like, "At least the one I fucked did." And like he's done a variation of this. Like he'll be like rabbit, squirrel. It's always like a helpless
woodland creature.
Yes. Yeah. So I fucking love him, but he deserves it. Just know that. It's Gerbil Chris.
Gerbil Chris, you got it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get his Alice, if you're watching this. We're rebranding Chris Jackson as Gerbil Chris. I need it to catch on. Gerbil Chris 2024. I want him to.
I will work towards this cause. I will make my Allie's met Chris. My roommate Allie. My Allie's met Chris. So I will make her do it too.
Gerbil Chris. You gotta get Grant on board too.
Oh,
Alan knows. Alan knows.
Grant will be out like hell yeah.
All that to say, I don't feel bad about this at all.
Can I ask you a question that may not be the time for now, but if it's not, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, what's up?
Cool. So cosmetics ? Favorites ?
Like favorite brand? Um,
or color or style or
I like reds, like for eyeshadow and stuff.
oh
Red, yellow,
warm colors.
gold. Yeah, warm colors. Yeah, I like warm colors.
Okay.
Like for lips, usually like black or red. Mostly red. I don't,
Okay.
not a lot of pink, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
It takes a specific, like if you have like a very dark eye, a pink lip can look good, like to detract some
okay.
attention. But it has to be the right pink. You can't
I
have
don't.
like bachelorette Barbie pink on you.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. Like philosophically, I guess. Like or like that just from a what's the word? Like the way you're
I
explaining
am
it.
I was like, I am asking rhetorically, I'm just not there yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's just interesting that like what colors are warm or what works with what. I don't really know a lot about that.
Well, give me about 3 months. I'll be able to tell you a lot.
Okay. Yeah, you're starting cosmetology school.
I am switching careers to go to cosmetology school. I love my babies. I do not love working 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I am choosing to have a career that gives me flexibility and will be better for my mental health and make a decent living wage while also getting to be creative, which is something that I feel like has been so stifled in me for so long because I just haven't had anywhere to put it. And I say creative in terms of hair and makeup when some people don't call that art, and that's okay. That's their biscuits, not mine, but they're wrong.
They can be wrong.
Exactly. They're allowed to be wrong. But when I started graduate school in 2015, I said, I need a hobby that's not school. And I had a summer before school started living alone in my apartment, waiting on my roommates to get there. And I worked at Belk, the department store, which had a beauty counter. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to do makeup. And so I watched videos, I read articles, I watched like every season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Like I learned. And I learned well enough that I've done makeup for 3 weddings, multiple stage events. Like, whoa. Yeah.
You're already a pro. You're just gonna go learn it.
Just gonna go get like that's the thing. Yeah. If I got paid to do it in the state of Tennessee, I would be committing a crime without a license.
Oh, you have to be wait.
You have to be licensed
to do what exactly?
Makeup application.
As a profession?
Mm-hmm. If you get paid to do it without a license, it is technically a crime.
That's so stupid. Why?
Because it's like a nurse practicing without a license.
Again, no, it's not.
It's not, but no,
it's not.
Their perception of it is.
Well, you can be wrong.
I don't make the rules.
Not that it's not important, but no one's getting hurt.
No. But I think a lot of it does. There is a standard of professionalism that wouldn't get followed by hobbyists.
Yeah, so it's not a wait. Okay, I guess I should. This is not why it is a legal thing. It's not like you just get banned from a thing. Like you can.
I think it's a revoking of your license or an inability to get a license or a fine or some punitive action.
But the law, like the state gets involved.
Yes.
That's fucking crazy.
Yep.
That is fucking crazy.
Yep.
Holy shit. Well, I guess you have to go then. You have to go.
I have to go.
Damn.
But anyway, I think that if art is magic, makeup and hair are truly transformative. What?
I have a lot to say about that.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So
are you done with this?
Yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the Bible earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So there's what's called Apocrypha. Okay, you know about Apocrypha.
Mm-hmm.
So some things are canon, some things aren't. The Council of Nicaea decided what was and what wasn't, and it's very to fit a narrative. It's like things that are cut are like just things that don't mesh well with what they're trying to say.
Yep. Heavy editing.
Yeah, heavy editing. Just arbitrarily deciding what is and what isn't, just on how they feel about it. And so like there's a lot of Apocrypha, and one of them is the Book of Enoch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Old Testament stuff, and it's an extended flood story. Like because the flood story in Genesis is like a few chapters.
Right.
It's like not long.
Right.
But this is like a whole expansion about it. And one of the things they talked about is like mankind was getting taught things it wasn't initially supposed to know by angels. And like those things would be like war and makeup and jewelry and like this would like what else? Um, there's a bunch of stuff like certain kind like math, uh, and like there's more to it than that. But there were a bunch of things that like angels gave to humankind that were like
Makeup was one of them? Or
yeah,
beauty something
yeah,
something?
the idea of well, it is magic. You are creating an image for yourself that is not exactly what it you can make yourself whatever you want. And
It's empowering.
that's yeah. And that was a that was a sin at the time because that's like it does
It's
it had
superfluous.
it has like it has a I guess it so it is magic, but I think magic is very mundane. I think
It can
magic
be.
is like we're doing magic right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm making lip flaps and you somehow understand what that means somehow. And like, what the fuck is that? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is
Well, if you ever
magic.
want to think about how the interaction between two people is magic, think about the difference between a a boring conversation with a person with bad vibes and then an engaging conversation with a person with good vibes, and you feel like magic and I don't know what you call that, anti-magic.
Mm,
Like a
anti-magic.
failure to connect to
Mm.
the like they I'm sure have magic in other areas of their lives, but they did
It's
not bring
bad
it to yours.
vibrations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think there is what I'm getting at is a special magic too when there's words plus vibes, because both
Yeah.
are separate magics.
Yeah. The problem, no one, the people that don't believe in magic
What a
are
boring life.
well, they're the people that are like defining it as fiction. Like, I've had a lot of interactions with spirits. I'm pretty well versed in like weird experiences at this point in my life. And that is explainable scientifically. Um, I think part of the reason people don't believe in magic is because they're describing it as something that is strictly fiction.
Right.
It's like it is the definition is something in a story, something in fantasy. It's not in reality.
Demystify, redefine.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And that's everything can be explained without using that word now. Like any kind of chaos magic I can think of that's just psychology on one scale or another. You could use, there's a whole different like train of thinking that you could follow and arrive at the same conclusion, right? It's
Yeah.
like the mystical and the psychological are synonymous. I do believe in the reason I say I have so much experience in this is to say that I've never seen, there are certain things I've never seen, and that's like something levitate. Every time I'm not, and I really want to believe in things like poltergeists. I really do, which is part of why I'm like, why the fuck haven't I seen it? Because I've seen a lot of weird shit, but everything is explainable within the realms of physics. Now,
In terms of why you haven't seen, I'm going to pause you for a second. In terms of why you haven't seen a poltergeist, the universe has three answers: yes, not right now, and I have something better.
So
do with that what you will.
Well, yeah, all of that to say that I've talked to a lot of people that have had these experiences. Like I've like out of all the ghost stories I've heard, a lot of them involve poltergeists. So I really want to believe in it, but I don't, and I don't think I can make myself because I like.
Well, don't force it. It would be disingenuous. Yeah.
I would love to see it, but I don't. For the time, I don't believe in it, and because I guess I should ask: have you ever had any poltergeist activity?
Nope. I think I live comfortably in the I believe that it's possible, and just because I haven't seen it, that's okay.
Yeah.
I live comfortably. I'm not. A lot of people need more than that, and that's okay. I'm cool there.
I think what I mean to say is, I suppose I don't really know anything. Like even to go back as far as Descartes, like
Oh, okay.
I don't know anything. Like I don't know that I exist. Like he's Descartes, I think therefore
Therefore
I
I
am.
am.
To me, it's kind of an assumption.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know if we can take it that far. You don't know anything because everything you know is in reference to something. So I think therefore I am like, what does that really mean though? Like I get what you're trying to say, but you don't know exactly what the implication of that is. Like maybe you don't exist. Maybe we don't know how things work is my point. And like the more like psychedelics you do, it like cracks your brain and you're like, oh wait, there can just be no rules at all. Like dead and alive, not even like that's like a different thing. Like this is something else. Like all the rules out the window. No math, like 2 and 2 is 8,000, you know, like I think we take a lot for granted in what we know. We know a lot of things contextually to the reality we live in.
Yes.
So I think in the context of the universe as the way I understand it, I don't think certain things are possible in the realms of physics, but I could be wrong. I could not exist at all, right? Like maybe nothing exists anyway because I just imagined it, you know? So I don't know anything, but there are certain things I feel pretty strongly about in the context of this reality. That would be
Okay.
physics, for example, like hard sciences.
Yeah. Things
Obviously,
with demonstrable proof of
yeah,
things.
repeatable. And physics is very like doesn't care about your like how you feel about
Yeah.
something. And that's my experience with chaos magic is really the mind is capable of anything with the exclusion of the laws in place of this reality. So like you can leave this reality, but in the context of this, there are limitations.
There
Uh,
are.
and that's like so again, I would love to be proven wrong about that, but that's kind of just where I've thought about it a lot. And that's where I'm sitting right now. Rant over.
Nope, that's okay. We love a good rant. No, I think for me, my I guess like quote unquote spiritual journey went in an interesting way. I've joked that going to a religious college made me into the world's most well-informed atheist. But I don't know if like, and I lived that, like you said, what was it, like obnoxiously atheist?
Yes.
Yeah, I did that for a long time. And then it all started with the fucking tarot cards, man.
Hey, I was obnoxiously atheist until I got into magic. And then I was like, okay, so long story short,
Nothing is real.
I didn't believe in anything until I bought this board. And long story short, just Alice has heard this story before. I fucked around and found out like when I started doing magic. I'm like, no, that's I don't know where to put that in my mind. And that I was like obnoxiously atheist until that happened.
Oh my god, if I have a spring celebration for witchy shit, do you want to come?
I would love to. It'd be
Yay.
awesome.
Okay, yeah. There's just a small little handful of us.
Yeah. I think all all magic, the reason people don't believe in it is because it's right in front of their face. They can't see it. Like it's all around you. It's to the point where it's obsolete. It's like breathing is magic. So that word doesn't mean anything. I've destroyed the meaning of it in that way.
I am going to pause you and insert, I'm gonna loop. Children believe in magic.
Yes. Yes. And children have more
Imagination,
experience
more
and they have more experiences with the supernatural.
Yep.
Yes. And this is where this is rhetoric is really big on magic. It's what you tell yourself. Because when you're a kid, like tarot, we were just talking about tarot. What greater fool is there than a child? You've begun your journey. And then the magician or the alchemist is man or woman or adult that is ready to face all the world now.
But if we're talking about like the rhetorical deconstruction of belief in magic in our society, we start that young and early because as children get older, we take away their magic more and more and more and more until they're an adult with no magic.
I think part of that is as you become an adult, you have these ideas about what is. So when you take like a substance that alters your brain and the way you're thinking, now you've returned to that child state. Like some of the most crazy shit I've experienced, and I have seen, like I've had visions of things that aren't there. It's more like I can't physically touch it. I can't interact with it. So it's not there in a physical sense. Maybe it is there, but not in a measurable way, like light is, or like heat, you know?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm only defining it as not real in the context of physical reality, the way it's defined.
Gotcha.
To say that it's not real doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was leaning more into the like, because you made reference to like people don't see it because it's right in front of their face. And I was like, okay, so my brain went, why don't we see it, especially us as adults? Like, what is it that is the block? Because it's right here. And then I got to, like thought backward about the conditioning we experience throughout our lives.
It's the stories we tell ourselves and
the words we have.
Yeah.
Because
children, again, rhetoric super important.
Rhetoric matters for children. Stop. But because really, like you let kids think they can blow wishes on dandelions. You let kids think that they wish on shooting stars, and you let them believe. You know what I mean? Like you don't give them words that are contrary to those beliefs.
Sure.
Until they're older.
Yeah.
Either you or someone else gives them, you being the parent, or caregiver, the adults in the lives of this child demystify for them by providing practical truths. And some of those, like, sure, physics, laws of the universe, beliefs, imagination. But here's the thing, is that I think we should be capable as human beings to say, you know what, these are the rules of our current plane. I think other planes are possible where these cool things could happen. And you know what? We do. People believe in heaven and hell.
And they believe in imagination. Like everyone's aware of that. So what is imagination
if not magic?
A realm of another realm? Really?
Reading, same thing. And good music, same thing.
We were talking about this before Alice got here. I think what we imagine and what we create comes from somewhere that already exists. So when you are using your imagination, when a kid has an imaginary friend, this is my thoughts on this. People with certain, I guess what I'm going to say is I think your imaginary friends are real in a sense, which is not a good thing for everyone to hear. If you think about like mental illness.
Correct, yes.
Right.
But for the
traditional disclaimer a little late.
For traditional neurotypical child. And
yeah. So I think that might be dangerous information for some people, but and maybe, maybe that speaks to my own kind of mental illness, but like, I think what you imagine exists, just in a different, and even if you just want to speak about that philosophically, that's true. Mm-hmm. Like we can get as metaphorical as we want about it, right? But in one form or another, that exists. And maybe, who are we to say that doesn't exist outside of your mind? Like, even if you don't make like a physical representation of it, who's to say someone else isn't tapped into the same thing? It's kind of like, do you write a song or do you discover it first? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It brings up the interesting question of collaboration, like intentional collaboration.
Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier too. It does take like two to tango. You have to be the avatar for that. So you play a role in how that thing is translated. Like, for example, language. You have an idea, but you who knows language can turn it into something tangible to this world.
Word chess.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Yeah. So I think that's really what art is a way for spirit to communicate. I think it's language.
I mean, what is rhetoric if not speaking things into existence?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'm serious.
No, it's spell casting. You are.
It is. Yeah. So I remember when this is a brief side story, but just to illustrate my point. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
I had this professor in graduate school. When I got there, I was like, I'm gonna study literature, la 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 la. And my mentor, my first semester, she was like, I think you're a rhetoric girly. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And so she's like, okay, you need to go talk to this person. Her name is Beth. I call her mom now. We have that relationship. She was my mom professor. And so I go to Beth's office and she's like sitting away. And I walk into her office and I just hear her say, do Inuits have snow? And then swung her chair around. And I'm standing there like, what? And I'm like, I was like yeah, yes. And she looked at me and she goes, well, they don't call it that.
Yeah.
And I just kind of looked at her. She's like, so I'm gonna ask you again. Did the Inuit have snow?
Mm.
I said, I guess not. And she said, now you're on the right path. And that was it. And then I became a rhetoric person and got a master's degree in rhetoric.
I love that. And in English, we borrow a lot from other languages.
Oh yeah, we are thieves in the night.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, we don't have a word for that concept. So let's take that and just add that to our rhetoric, instead of they don't English. Actually, that's what an English is entirely now I think about it, is they just stole his things from everywhere. They didn't have any original ideas.
Well, Anglo-Saxon sort of.
Oh, are there English-based words? I didn't know that. Like,
so early like British Island area folks did have, it was Anglo-Saxon, a very very old form of Old English. It was like
okay.
that even the characters are slightly different. I had to take a whole class on it.
Oh shit. So this does come from a base religion. It's just been edited a lot over the years.
It's close to German.
Fascinating. I didn't actually know that. That's crazy. I thought, okay.
So if you look at the etymology of a word and you see like the weird pronunciation symbol things, that's from the International Phonetic Alphabet, which we had to learn for that class, as well as a way to be able to take the sounds of these words we couldn't read and spell them in IPA, so that we could start making like sound letter, and like learn the sounds and syntax.
Holy shit.
We also diagrammed a lot of sentences. In our final, we had to diagram a 70-word sentence.
Damn.
Tolkien.
Fuck, man.
That was a derail. I'm so sorry.
No, that's interesting. I should have known you'd know about the history of language. I didn't even think about that.
You know who else is good for that? Grant.
Grant?
He is a word nerd.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, he's got to come on. We got to talk.
Yeah, yes, 1,000%. He lives like 20 minutes from here, if that.
We'll make it happen. But yeah, I mean, so speaking about ancient language, do you know about the Epic of Gilgamesh?
Know about or know a lot about?
Okay, so actually, I'll just explain to Alice.
Yeah.
Like the Epic of Gilgamesh is
a creation story, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the oldest complete work ever in recorded history. So the oldest thing is a story about how we got here. And every creation story is based on this story.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how much truth is in that? Because the first thing ever recorded is how we got here, which, and that story is like aliens came down here and were like, Earth has gold, which is like really valuable for our atmosphere. So we're going to take these chimps and splice their DNA with our own. So that, however you want to interpret that.
Right.
Did they fuck with chimps? I don't know.
They're not Chris Jackson.
Dude. Oh, Abbie, you're the best.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're my favorite.
Oh, sorry, I need a stretch.
Yeah. So, however you want to interpret that. Were they all Chris Jacksons? I don't know. But they give enough like sapience and self-awareness to chimps, like or like early hominids. I'm exaggerating when I say chimp, but
No,
like
close enough.
early hominid gave them like enough self-awareness to mine gold. And then Enki, one of them, the betrayer, takes some of his DNA and gives it to them, which is like a creation story for how we came to be the way we are now. So all of a sudden we're all aware. And there is more to the story, but I'm not aware of it. And from what I know, what I think I know about it, it kind of trails off. So it's like what we don't really know what happened after that. But like, I mean, it seems like we stopped mining gold. You know what I mean? At least we're doing something else now.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to be around. So maybe we killed them. Maybe we drove them off the planet.
They realized we're useless.
Or yeah, they moved on, right? But I do think it's interesting. And this is totally now, I'm just speculating. This is a stoner talk, but this is all stoner talk. But this is just me talking out my
What
ass
is
right
me if not stoner talk?
now. This is just me based on nothing except just thinking about it. But maybe
Thinking
like,
out loud.
yeah, we're all still obsessed with hoarding gold. So it's like, did they just create a system of capitalism to get us to get is like, okay, we don't want to like get it out of the earth. So let's get them to mine it and put it all in one convenient pile for us. So then like,
So long-term goal.
huh?
So it's their long-term goal.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe like they just found a better way to get us to mine gold because we think we're doing it for ourselves. So it's then like, then we have the banking system, which is like, okay, when that came around, it's like, give us your gold and we're going to give you a piece of paper in return. And this isn't up for debate. Give us your fucking gold. So then the banks have all the gold. And apparently, America's gold was supposed to be in Hoover Dam, but it's not. So, and we don't have a gold standard. We use fiat currency. So it's like, where the fuck is our gold? And there's still a lot of gold in circulation, but I just find that interesting that huge deposits of gold disappear.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe aliens are still here in the oceans or the moon, perhaps, that are still just taking gold, just harvesting gold. Yeah. Anyway,
Here for it.
where do you think human life began? The way it is now? Is it?
Ooh.
There's that, right? Let me present your options too.
Okay.
There's that. There's aliens fucking monkeys. There's an evolution without a missing link, just a long, gradual period of time. Very well accepted answer. I think that makes just as much, that makes more sense than the other theory I'm talking about. But then there's like stoned ape theory. You know this one?
I'm
Okay.
just loving the name.
Terrence McKenna coined the stoned ape theory, which is that mushrooms develop sapience the way they have it from eating mushrooms. From eating psychedelic, it'd be psilocybin hispanica, I think. It was bigger than what we have now.
Okay.
So maybe one day monkeys just ate mushrooms and then they're like, what the fuck? What is anything? So anyway, those are the three theories I'm aware of. Or like a combination of them all.
Yeah, I think I tend to think more like where are we going than where we come from.
Yeah. That's more important, right?
I think so. But I mean, knowing one's origin story is not without merit. I definitely would say I am one of those folks who subscribes to like extended evolution, like awareness that like, yeah, I know we can't see it all, but like there's a long line here.
Yeah.
But I think that sorry, I'm like trying to step thoughts. In terms of how humans came to be on this planet, I think that creation stories, regardless of religious overtone, do exactly what we do with art and music now, is give us a way to make sense of something we don't understand.
Yeah.
Like look at Greek and, well, Roman mythology are thieves, but look at Greek mythology.
Yeah. Look at it.
And look at Native American creation stories, and
Yeah.
look at early Christian creation stories, and et cetera, and et cetera, and et cetera.
Mm.
And I think it is all one big fat answer to tell ourselves, well, I don't know this, but I do know this, and that makes me comfortable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think some of them are more in alignment with like concrete reality as we know it
Yeah.
versus
And
others. You know what I
because there's
mean?
also the step removed of like, this is how we got here, now this is how I behave because I'm here. And if it's a religious overtone, those are two
Yeah.
parts of the same thing. See what I
Like,
mean?
I don't know a lot about other religions, but I know like Christianity and specifically like Old Testament Judaism pretty well.
Mhm.
And like, or at least more than I know other stuff. But from that, what I've gathered is that uh, they don't believe in like a personal God.
Mhm.
That's like a story to help explain a concept. Because like the Tetragrammaton, the YHVH, the name used for God in Old Hebrew,
Mhm.
is literally the letters for earth, water, air, fire. So what they were, and then when you add the word spirit to the middle of it, it makes Yeshua for Jesus. So God made flesh is like what's borrowed. And but
Damn.
yeah, so literally what the ancient Jews are worshiping is reality, like the building blocks that make up reality. And like Yahweh, like was an inhale sound and an exhale sound. It's meant to symbolize everything. Like so anytime in the Bible where it is spoken of as like a person, that's a story. And fundamentalism has only existed for like 500 years for most of human history. Like they like to teach us that we were dumb, that they're actually way smarter than we are now, like way smarter. And because it makes sense, like when you think about like look at our education system right now, it's fucked. Like
Trust me, I worked in it. I know.
yeah, it's like that's another tangent, but
Okay.
they because they weren't so distracted, they were fucking brilliant. But specifically, right after you discover agriculture and you have all this free time, they didn't they didn't entertain themselves as much as they educated themselves because there's a lot to learn. You know, it's like you just developed agriculture, like now you have all this free time, like you can think it like you're not focused on survival now. You have free time to do all the things. So it was less, there was a lot of fun in learning.
Mhm.
Whereas like I think kids today and like from our generation, uh there's like this attitude about learning's not fun until you like grow the fuck up a little bit. But that's like definitely a culture, you know? And or like learning is not, why are you learning? That's dumb. You know?
Yeah.
Which is like,
And like, trust me, I had those. Like,
yeah,
every teacher does, but I don't know. Overall, my kids were like, even when they were sardonic about it, were pretty jazzed.
yeah,
Which is cool.
that's cool. Probably because you're a good teacher.
Thank you. I hope so. And this is a humble brag, but it makes me cry every time I say it. In my very, very first semester teaching, it was the fall of 2016. At the end, you know how you do those evaluations that are anonymous, where it's like, rate your teacher 1 to 5, blah, blah, blah. And then it gives a section for comments that no one ever uses because they had just hit submit.
Uh,
One of those students wrote in the comments that Miss Moody, was my last name then, makes everyone feel like a someone. And I ugly cried.
oh, that is so
And
sweet.
and
It
like,
makes you feel like you're someone.
Yeah. And
That's like the most important thing you can teach a child. Like we were talking about
right?
earlier, is
Like, I
there,
don't give a shit if you don't have a research paper. You know who you are as a person.
and
You
that's
gotta,
full circle because we were talking about like that um kids are tiny people.
yeah. Even teenagers, they're still tiny.
So that's awesome that you made her feel like a person instead of a
I don't even know
child.
the gender of the child. It's anonymous.
Hmm.
So could have been so many. Like,
I don't know you.
I don't know, but
All you know is that it's a person.
it's a person, yes.
Yeah.
It was all lowercase. It was definitely a college freshman.
Yeah.
But I I guess to like position me in terms of, so I've mentioned that I've done all these things in my life. I'm doing these big things in my life. And so, Alice, I guess it's important that you kind of get why I do what I do.
Hmm.
And that kid's comment is why I do everything that I do. I didn't know that when I started teaching. I just liked books and wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And then I got in there and it was like, holy shit, these like 24 little humans are looking to me to learn something. And then when that kid said that, it just like revamped my reality because I took that into every child I worked with, every new mom I worked with, and even in my admissions essay to cosmetology school. I was like, you know what? I like to make people feel like their best selves. I want to make everyone feel like a someone. And that can come in a lot of forms. That can be artistic, like hair and makeup. That can be in the classroom. That can be helping a child. My mission is the same, it's just taking different forms.
Yeah. I feel that too. Like I told you, I was raised really like religiously.
Mhm.
And but actually before I get into that, I want to say like my friend Evan also was a teacher. He taught fifth grade. And like I'll tell him what I told you. Like I think that's the most important thing you can do in your life. Um like
Definitely glad I did it for a
and
while.
it's a thankless job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like I said, I'm glad I did it. I wouldn't undo it,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna keep doing it either.
But what you were saying about like you have the same mission, like I was raised as like witnesses are very like spread the message, like they knock on
The
people's doors.
doors.
Yeah. Like my sister does that, something like 50 hours a month. Yeah. And you know what, like not all of them, some of it's like you're brought up in this so you do it because you're supposed to. Like that's definitely how
I mean, I brought
I
up in
saw it.
evangelical Christianity. I handed people pamphlets for church. Same thing.
Yeah.
We were like
But
copying you, no less.
yeah. And that, like any denomination of like a religion like this, like a lot of them I grew up with were really we are really good people. Like my mom or like my sister, when they knock on your door, they want to save your eternal life. Like they're not devoting their time to this necessarily because they like it as much as
They
they're
believe it's
trying to
important.
save the world. And I say all that to say I have the same mission as I always have. Is I'm aware, like religion puts a lot of guilt on you, right?
Yeah, no shit.
No shit, right? But here's the thing: is like, once you are aware of a problem, if you don't do anything about it, you're blood guilty. And I know shit. I see what's going on, and I feel that fucking Christian guilt of like I'm aware of this, so I have to do something about it. And to be honest with you, like not that long ago, I was seriously thinking about doing something about it, like doing something that would get me killed or thrown in prison, and like really seriously like thinking about it, and like uh, I'm still that person, and the only thing that stopped me from doing that is the people who love me telling me like you're not gonna really get anything done, like you're not, it's not gonna work, like no matter what you try, you're gonna fail, and even if you did, it wouldn't accomplish anything. Like that's not how you fix things.
Permanent solution, temporary
Yeah.
problem.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I won't do this, but only because it's logistics.
I'll live out of spite.
It's logistics. Like I can do what I figured out is like this is the most I can do about it is talk about it. Like I can talk about the issues that are going on and hopefully get other people to see it too. But I can't do anything on my own about it. That's why I told you I just read the Unabomber Manifesto not long ago. He saw a bunch of problems, um, and he had the wrong solution. But he saw the problems that were going on. And the only reason I haven't gone that path is because it's ineffective and it's what he did is wrong, you know? Yeah. So A, because it's wrong, B, because it doesn't work. So like we have to find, even if this is not, I'm very much an Aries, like nothing I do is ever enough for me. Like, you know, Grant's an Aries.
He's an interesting Aries, but yes.
I like, nothing's ever good enough for me, like for myself.
Right.
Like I have
like a self-imposed.
For myself, I have a extremely high standard. And it's like I'll never to a point where it's unobtainable. I'll never be to that point. But Aries is about the drive. And if you feel like you're where you ought to be, then you don't have ambition to go anywhere. So I am content with incontentment when it comes to or incontentment, uncontent, discontentment. Thank you. I'm like neither of those is right. What is it? Yeah, I'm content with being discontent with my lot in life, or not even like my lot in life, but how much I've accomplished. I'll never be where I want to be, but that's Aries represents progress. It represents like the mountain goat climbs this mountain and then he gets to the top and finds another mountain to go climb and like a bigger mountain. And it's like that's perpetual growth. And
that's
so
a good perspective.
All of that to say, like I don't think I don't have like inflated like, oh, what I'm doing is so important. But like I'm doing everything I can to, that's probably not true. There are probably things I'm not aware of that I could be doing.
You're trying very hard.
I'm trying very hard to do what I can, which is really just talking about it. And growth, I mean, like, you don't make a change by attacking the government. You make change by building around you and like controlling what you can control, being good to people. Like
being a good human goes a long way.
Right now, I don't know how literal or metaphorical this is. It depends on the day, but I always say that I have like my own holy trinity, which is knowledge itself, and then like the teacher and the student.
Very Greek of you.
Yeah, there's there's the student, there's the teacher, and the knowledge that's being handed down. And I worship that exchange. So I think it's wonderful that you're a teacher.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say like Prometheus, like hands the torch.
Have you read the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire? Mm-mm. Write it down, mark it down. We'll do it for book club sometime.
Can you remind me after, yes. or write it, send it to me something?
Yes.
Would you rather do that?
You can even borrow my copy. Like, yes.
You want to do that before Peter Pan?
This might be because it's very practical text. I don't know how much fun it would be for book club, but I think you would enjoy.
We've done Art of War. We've done The Prince. We've done some nonfiction, like the one about cleaning your room. It's what's her name? The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
Marie Kondo.
Maria Kondo.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
So yeah, we've done some nonfiction. Okay, I'm down. If that's if you recommend it, I'll read it.
I 1000% recommend it.
Okay.
it quick, short. So I mean, it's not a long book. It's like me, but it talks about adult education, specifically literacy education, but it talks about how traditionally education uses the banking model of education, is what he calls it, as in children are empty to be deposited into, or learners, children, adults, whoever.
They're like a vessel for
They're
information?
empty to be poured into. Yes.
Oh, okay.
As opposed
Okay.
to someone who co-creates and exchanges knowledge, which is the superior form of education.
Oh, these are methods of teaching.
Mhm.
I see. That okay. So he's saying, okay, so you can put anything in there rather than it being a collaboration.
Right, basically. So
That's a good point, because you're not treating it like a person, you're treating it like a vessel for a person.
right. And banking exchange.
I definitely want to read this. It'd be nice.
Yeah. But yeah, his proposition is the co-creation of knowledge. You meet the learner where they are. The learner has something to teach you. You have something to teach them. Together you create something great. And that's how I taught.
Let's do that one first.
Okay.
And then we'll do Peter Pan later.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. I think that would actually be a great one for the book club.
Okay. Who else in the
Just
book club?
basic. It just depends on the month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. People hop in and out, so there's not like an obligation. You have to be here. I wouldn't want anyone there that doesn't want to be there.
Right.
Plus, we read so much. Like, there's no real like type for the book club, so it's like some things are not for Maria
For
Kondo
everybody.
is not for the one we did. Like, I don't know, like a fantasy novel.
Right.
That's actually why I like doing it so much. Is I get recommendations for things I wouldn't normally read.
Oh.
Like, my wheelhouse is fantasy. Like, I read and write fantasy, which
Okay.
is like, that's all I read outside of the book club, which forces me to read things that I wouldn't. But we do a lot of fantasy too.
Both and.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're the cool thing about pedagogy of the oppressed is that it is cross applicable to like human exchange and collaboration, not just education, although that is where it starts.
Well, I think that's to say that you're only handing down, which it's like, if you've ever been around children at all, you learn just as much from them as you teach them. It is an exchange. The same, like, I've learned a lot talking to you.
I was literally about to say, I'm like, we just co-created knowledge, my dude.
Yeah. And well, I'm hoping that's like, I think, again, I have like inflated self-esteem of like what's happening with this, but I think this is important. Just this kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like, this conversation, not a lot of people are having this conversation.
Well, and
but this is an opportunity for them to like, I thought about this and now I can have this conversation. Like, I watched Rabbit Hole and now I have this conversation with someone else.
I'm gonna bring the Swifty swarm on you.
I was just about to say, I'm like Taylor Swift. I'm going to fucking manipulate.
Work your magic.
Yeah.
So, hold on. What time is it?
Oh
shit! It is 10:17.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. I will close by telling you my favorite butterfly effect moment, and then we can pick up with that next time.
Yeah.
My favorite real world butterfly effect. If O.J. Simpson had not killed his wife, we would never have had Taylor Swift's album Reputation.
I don't even know what that means.
You ruminate on that. Alice, don't tell him the answer. We'll pick up there next time.
I'll think about it next time. Abbie, thank you so much for being here. We'll definitely have to do this again.
This was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
I think you're the perfect guest for Rhetoric Rabbit Hole, being a rhetoric major.
Woo!
Like, this is the kind of conversations I love having. We'll definitely have you on again.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much, Abbie.
Thank you.
See you, Alice.